Jehovah's Witnesses released a new episode of JW Broadcasting, and they decided to talk about something I forgot about. They aren't allowed to practice martial arts. It's one of the strangest rules they have, as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, they made a video about it, so let's watch it and see what they had to say. Let's get into it.
I sweated blood to train myself in martial arts. So when I joined a big competition, I won the fight. My life changed. I became a bodyguard of a well-known politician and taught martial arts to some popular celebrities. My students, my boss, and his family, they all became part of my life. One day, some Jehovah's Witnesses came by and gave me a tract. I was surprised and really happy to learn God's name. I thought, this could be what I've been looking for.
I know I probably don't have to say this for the 1000th time, but Jehovah isn't God's name. It never was. Jehovah's Witnesses are one of very few groups that believe that. Some Pentecostal groups believe it too. In the Bible, the Tetragrammaton is a word for the 4 letters that represent God's name. This is what they look like. In English, those letters translate to YHWH. Hebrew's written from right to left. J's didn't even exist until the 1500s. So how is YHWH pronounced? There's some debate about where the accent marks should go and all that, but it's generally agreed that it's pronounced Yahweh in modern English. Ancient Hebrew didn't use vowels. Readers were supposed to fill in the vowels based on context and previous understanding of the written language. Centuries later, Hebrew writers eventually created a vowel system that could be added in without changing any of the original text. So you'd have a word like YHWH, and instead of completely rewriting everything with vowels, they could just go back and add these little markers around it to stick vowels in. But the people doing the work had some weird superstitions about the name of God. They believed it should never be spoken out loud. So instead of putting the proper vowels in the Tetragrammaton, they added vowels for the word Adonai, which basically means my lords. They did it that way to make the name really difficult to pronounce. So when people came to it when they were reading, they wouldn't accidentally speak the word. After adding the vowels for the word Adonai into the Tetragrammaton, which is YHWH, you get YAHOWAH, or Jehovah. Over time, as the religion moved across Europe, it eventually made its way to the Germany region, where Y's are commonly pronounced with a J sound and W's are pronounced with V sounds. So is Jehovah God's actual name? Is it an English translation? No. It's a mashup made to trick people out of using the real name, which is Yahweh. The first appearance of the name Jehovah was the King James Bible, originally written in 1611. So sorry, bud, you never learned God's name. Some people just told you it was this when it really wasn't. It never was, and it never will be. Let's continue.
So I accepted a Bible study, and I realized that I owed everything to God.
That's weird. You talk to a couple for 1 single hour, and by the end of it, you're convinced that you owe them your life, and you pledge to dedicate your life to the person they've just introduced you to? Am I the only one that thinks this looks like a pyramid scheme?
When I attended my first meeting, I saw how humble and caring the witnesses were, but my neighbors made fun of me. I wanted to beat them because I knew I could. I was ashamed that I couldn't do anything to defend Jehovah's name. Then one morning, before going to the meeting, for the first time, I approached Jehovah in prayer, asking him to give me courage. I couldn't do it alone. After that prayer, I felt that Jehovah really strengthened me. And I humbly told the neighbors that I was going to the Kingdom Hall.
There's a juxtaposition here. Jehovah's Witnesses are trying to show you how evil and cruel the world is, and how kind, humble, and good Jehovah's Witnesses are. Cults do something called love bombing. They're overly nice and interested in you. It makes you feel welcomed and wanted. It's especially nefarious for people who are in an emotionally vulnerable position. Jehovah's Witnesses tend to target people who've just felt tragedy anyways, because it makes the brainwashing process a lot easier. They also have a vested interest in making the us versus them mentality even worse in new recruits. Whatever it takes to make people think they're the good guys and everybody else is the bad guy. So it comes as no surprise to me that they talk about how nice Jehovah's Witnesses are and how mean everybody else is. Let's continue.
Since then, I've always prayed to Jehovah when making decisions. I needed to leave martial arts. I had to quit my job as a bodyguard and stop carrying guns. Doing His will wasn't always easy, but Jehovah gave me the courage to do so.
Doing whose will? You mean your study buddy? Because I'm not convinced martial arts are evil, according to the Bible. So what's their justification for that claim? They have a whole section on their website dedicated to it. They say it's linked with false religion and it's linked to the occult. And if that doesn't grab you, they reference Isaiah 2:4. Quote, "He shall judge between the nations and shall arbitrate for many peoples. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore." I wouldn't consider self-defense learning war. That's a little bit of a stretch. But that's what Jehovah's Witnesses do, isn't it? They stretch and twist the Bible around until it says what they want it to say. They have a long history of doing it this way. Who cares if you ruin somebody's life? Who cares if this is the only way they know how to support themselves? That's their problem. This dude just threw his trophies in the trash. What's he gonna do for work?
My boss asked me to visit him. He offered me a new car and double my salary. I went to the washroom and intensely prayed again to Jehovah for courage. Jehovah, help me, please, I said. I can't do this on my own. In the end, I chose Jehovah. Jehovah is more precious to me than anything this world could offer. I told him, "Sorry, but I'm not accepting your offer." It felt like losing a family in death. Eventually, I got baptized. I am now serving as a regular pioneer.
Serving as a regular pioneer? And how much money does that make you? Oh, none? Right. Pioneers are basically people who agree to a certain number of hours knocking on doors every month for a year. I don't know what the numbers are now, but I think when I was in it, the expectation was like 70 hours per month for 12 consecutive months. And no, it doesn't generate any money for you. You're basically just a door-to-door salesman who works for free. So how's this guy surviving? My guess is he's probably doing what most Jehovah's Witnesses do. He's probably a window cleaner, which is a perfectly respectable occupation. But when you have so much love and potential in another field, and you throw it in the trash, it breaks my heart. There was a Jehovah's Witness in my congregation when I was a kid, who was at one time a well-respected artist. He sold his last painting for a lot of money. I was told it was 6 figures. And then he met Jehovah's Witnesses. From there, he vowed to never have art as a hobby again. Why? Because it could take precedence over Jehovah. So what's he do now? He cleans offices at night and pioneers during the day. As a Jehovah's Witness, you have to be cautious about having hobbies because you might start to like your hobby more than you like Jehovah. And they can't have that. So the artist I knew quit his job, quit painting or drawing or anything, and started doing something he hates, so it's 100% guaranteed that he won't like working more than he likes Jehovah. This is fucking sad. Jehovah's Witnesses aren't just worked to the bone by the organization. If they give up on giving away free labor to the governing body, they lose everything they ever knew and loved. Everybody who is important in their lives will abandon them permanently. They're pushed into living a life they hate so they don't risk liking it more than they like Jehovah. It doesn't get more sad than that. So that's the end of the clip. Let's see what the governing body member had to say about it.
How was Narciso tempted? When his neighbors made fun of him for going to the Kingdom Hall, he thought about using these and going back to using martial arts. Yes, ridicule tested Narciso's humility. But through prayer, he was able to speak calmly and confidently with his neighbors. Narciso's boss tempted him with a new car and a raise. What did Narciso do? He immediately went to a quiet place and prayed intensely. When we face similar temptations, we can be confident that through prayer, Jehovah will help us to do the right thing.
It burns me up inside that there are millions of people out there trudging through life, barely making it, never getting too involved in something they love to do because they don't want it to become more important to them than Jehovah. The whole bit is that the governing body wants to be that obsession in everybody's life. They want you to be obsessed with knocking on doors. To this day, talking to people I've never met is hard. I'm just not built for it. Going up to somebody's door and cramming my beliefs down their throats stresses me out more than you could imagine. Some people just aren't fit for this kind of thing, but if they don't do it, they lose everything, barely making their way through life, barely scraping by. Not just living a miserable existence, not just doing something completely insufferable, but barely making enough money to live, because getting a college education is demonized from the top down. Hopefully we can live to see the day when this organization is exposed as the monster that it is. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check me out on Teespring, or you can check me out on Etsy. I have a store where I sell all kinds of interesting stuff. Mostly it's 3D printed game stands. But I also sell these 2020 dumpster fire candle holders, or just regular dumpster fire candle holders. And I sell these signs. If you want to keep Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons from knocking on your door, put these out front. Jehovah's Witnesses aren't afraid of anything, except apostates. And you don't have to be an ex-Jehovah's Witness to be an apostate. The term applies to anybody critical of the religion. So if you want to keep them away, then consider getting one of these signs. All links can be found in the description and the pinned comment. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.